then turning it right back on. Okay. All right,
Perfect.
cool. Okay. All right, so let me share my screen here.
Mhm.
It is that one. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Mhm.
Technology.
Yeah. And to match up the picture with the screen. Yes.
I use
All
that
right.
phrase, learning as I teach. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. So again, I'm logged in as you, Liliana.
Mhm.
And let's see here. So I see that we have a request that was actually abandoned. Let me just go into this request for one and see what we have.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones we actually had manually submitted via email to Qantas and our team.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this one here. So this one here, the sub request type, Liliana, we didn't have a sub request type chosen. So we didn't know if it was a location ad with product change, or just a product change. Meaning, are we creating a brand new location? Are we creating a brand new location that's going to be a little bit different than the last location? Or are we just doing a total product change, meaning they're going from product A, removing product A, getting product B, or are we just going from like one FICO version to another FICO version, right? So that's a product change.
Okay.
And that is actually on, so that's the first thing that I found. So, and that's actually when you're creating a request, let me go back to partner home here.
I'm sorry, what does the FIS stand for?
The FIS is financial insurance or something like that, Daryl.
I don't know if that applies to
It does
the.
not. No, it does not. And we've tried to get that removed from the partner portal because it's not being used actively. But it was going to be more of an act of Congress to get that done. So to speak. So we were like, it's better just to train our hey customer, don't use that option.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so going from an account, and I'm just going to act like we're creating a brand new request. So when we're creating a new request, hang on, I went into the account record, my bad. Hang on, let me get out of here. Partner home. We're going to go to the account tab. All right, here we go. And I'm just going to pick one. It doesn't matter which one. We're going to create a new OR. Okay. Now at this moment, this is when are we creating a brand new net new customer, meaning it's one of your net new customers, right? Or are we working from an existing customer? So if we have net new, at this moment right now, so we're just looking for products. Okay, so product, we have product FICO. Something else to remember as well, Liliana, when you're submitting, is most of the questions, not all, but most of the products are going to have what we call additional questions, where we need additional information related to that product. Like what version, what model number, if it is an actual model number, if you want this as a default or multiple, the delivery channel. So we need those questions answered in order for the provisioning team. Once it gets to our provisioning team, then we'll have all these answers to these questions, and then they can just basically just provision the account when the fulfillment ID is generated with said products.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe, Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe when we was doing that with Alabama Carland, we actually went through those and we completed them.
You may have. I'm just trying to do an overview right now, Liliana. I'm not saying that this was wrong. Yeah.
I'm trying to refresh my memory to make sure
Gotcha.
that there wasn't any questions or something that I did have, because I remember we did go to one product and we wasn't sure exactly what it was or how we needed to put in the information.
Okay, gotcha. Do you remember what that product was by chance?
Oh my goodness. Daryl, can you help me out a little bit?
And which one was that for? Was that Alabama?
Yeah, it was for Alabama.
I can probably go back to that request that we started. Let's see here.
I apologize. If you restate the question, please.
Yeah, remember when we was submitting Alabama car land in the portal, and there was one product that we was asked additional questions on, and we was not quite sure on how to answer those. And when it
It might have been on
wasn't
the subcode.
requested, we didn't even fill them out.
Yeah, I think it was the subcode itself or the acro file.
Yeah,
Looks
on
like it.
Alabama, the Equifax you had as the product, as well as oh man, did you guys have
Because it showed up multiples on the acro file.
Okay, because I'm looking at the request that was submitted, and this is the one that was abandoned, Liliana. So the only questions that we have, other than just choosing a product, are the ones for FICO. So you see that you've selected Acrofile,
Mhm.
Yep.
but there's no additional questions for that product.
So the delivery channel for the FICO.
Okay.
How
okay.
do we determine what the answer is going to be there? So, and just to add more context, we're going to have the request coming from a few different places. One's going to be through our internal system via our direct integration with Equifax. And then separately, it's going to be coming from third-party platforms that have a direct integration with Equifax.
Okay.
And we don't always know how they are connected to Equifax. So for instance, a loan origination system, a lending portal, dealer track, Route 1. Can you provide some context there?
Sure. So most of these delivery channels here are either going to be a direct connect with Equifax that we already have. And then there's also some that are using a total separate third-party platform that we have identified as it being a specific platform, Interconnect being one of those, Decision Power being another one of those, our credit marketing services being another one of those. For the sake of what you just explained, Daryl, for the most part, if all of your customers are going to be like that setup, either one of those setups, you're probably going to choose Total View. Total View is no matter how the end user customer is coming in, we're going to always deliver back our Total View product as the credit report, meaning that it's not going to go through another third-party platform system that's going to take our data, manipulate it in some form or fashion, and spit out their own generation of a credit report, if that makes sense.
Okay, so
Hopefully that makes sense.
Total View is the default. There's no like decisioning as a service or it's like okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that might have been the question. That's what most people have the question about is, well, I don't know what to choose for the delivery channel. So yeah, you guys would probably always use Total View. If you choose something different, is it going to, or if you should have, let me put it this way, if you should have chosen something different, is it going to cause an issue on your end user customer being able to pull products and services? And the answer is no. These additional entries or selection options is basically an identifier within Equifax that it has to go to a specific team or department to do something in their neck of the woods, so to speak, to some type of action or turning something on or flipping a switch to basically close their piece of the recipe or the piece of the pie, if you will.
Yep. And for all of our subcodes, for the 99%, they're just going to be the standard FICO with no manipulation to the file or the score itself.
There you go. So yeah, Total View is going to be, that's going to be your standard default option. I don't want to say default because we're not going to default it, but that's going to be your standard option that we should be selecting then. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Liliana, I'm adding this to the post-contract workflow for Equifax now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm looking at the type. We are pulling the auto score. Is that correct?
For the vast majority.
Indicator. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. FACTA, we're not doing FACTA. We're wanting version 8. Is that the standard version that your customers are going to be pulling?
It'll depend on the end user.
Gotcha. Okay.
8, 9 are probably the most common.
Sure. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. With that being said, then you should be good as far as the questions for FICO. Again, choosing Acrofile, that's our core product just to get a credit report.
Okay.
So we have to make sure that we select that entry.
Okay.
I'm trying to see, I don't know what other than the only thing that I saw again was the sub request type that was not selected, so we didn't know how to process this request basically.
Right.
Um,
Well, just another comment in regards to this, and we've already brought this up with Joe and Jacqueline.
Okay.
Well, we never received any notifications that there was anything wrong with this application.
Okay.
We was never notified, so we didn't know if we needed to go back and correct anything until Jacqueline and Joe started investigating. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was something to do with and it wasn't even the sub request type.
Lily. So Agility Credit wasn't set up to have an Equifax onboarding team member assigned to Agility Credit to go through this workflow. So it got kicked, but that should be resolved now. And Joe's been monitoring the requests, and as soon as we submit a new subscriber code, that we'll monitor that.
Just real quick, just to interrupt, Lee had actually pointed out to us, and this is kind of how he was able to help us out on understanding what was missing from, I guess, the previous request that would have it actually hit a report so that the team could see it. So what was happening was we weren't able to see the actual request. Once you hit submit on your side, there's typically a report that the team sees and they say, oh, okay, we have something that, we basically need to assign someone to, and they didn't see that one. So the one that you were referring to, Liliana, that initial one, it wasn't even on the radar as one that, we recognized to be, something to execute on. So the thing that Lee pointed out though, oh man, you had pointed it out to Qantas, Lee, that was just last week.
Yeah, I'm actually displaying it on screen, Joseph.
Okay,
yeah. So yeah, Liliana, so when you're creating your accounts, now granted, we already have an account record for Alabama Carland, right? You've already created that information and all the details have been entered. What I found is that you were choosing direct customer because this is your direct customer, but in the world of Equifax, it's basically a reseller channel partner.
Okay.
So you should be choosing as the relationship when you're creating either a net new account, meaning you're putting in the company name, the address, the phone number, all that good details of the company. The relationship you should be choosing reseller channel partner.
Okay.
And then that's the trigger that will then Joe mentioned on our report that it's basically a dashboard that we have that we're monitoring all of these reseller partners, such as yourself as Agility Credit, that we can then see, oh, we've got this request from Liliana. Let's ping Liliana, or let's get on the phone with Liliana and say, hey, we're missing X, Y, and Z. But because that was a direct customer as a relationship, it was out of sight, out of mind. We had no indicator that it was being even submitted.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you.
Yep, sure, absolutely. Other than that, I think those were the two biggest things that I actually found. So everything else that you were doing, Liliana, it looked correct.
Okay.
And I know we have that. Basically, we have that wizard. It kind of walks you through the step by step by step by step.
Yes.
So you would continue to go through those motions, right, of making sure that you have all the information populated. But yeah, those were the two biggest things that I found that were the issues that we could not move forward with it. Obviously the relationship, that was not a showstopper for us to process. We just didn't see it. But the sub request type, that it was a showstopper because we didn't know what to process, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And Lee, one time early on, Liliana was sharing her screen with me, and she was saying, as far as attachments, there wasn't a field for her to attach supporting documentation initially, that she would log out and then log back in, and then she would see the opportunity to attach documents. Is that something that's standard?
Yeah, I think it is. Let me just double check. I thought we could, going through the request though, you could attach documents, but let me double check myself before I stick my foot in my mouth. Going through the wizard.
Yeah, it was like kind of one of the like details, contacts, onboarding, like one of those tabs. But as you see, it's not there. But when she logged back in, it was there, like as an option, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, because we are
like coming out and then going back into that same request.
Yeah, and the reason for that, Joe, I think it's because it's not part of the initial wizard. Meaning we're basically walking the partner Liliana through, hey, you need to do this step, then you need to do this step, then you need to do this step. The notes and attachments, those are kind of after the initial boarding request is created, not submitted, but created, right? Then the user should be able to go back in and add any attachments, contracts, any additional supporting documentation that they may have for that particular request to get it through business license. I don't know, what all those documentations that you may, or pieces of documents that you might have, application for service, contract, all that good stuff, right? I don't think the attachment feature was built as part of the wizard, the guide the user through the process, so to speak. But we do know that it is part of the after the request was created, before submitted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember, Joe, if you go into like the onboarding requests, there you will actually be able to,
Yep. And let me go into this onboarding request. You have one. Yeah. Okay. So this one is new for Alan Turner.
Yeah, which that's the one you just did.
What? Yeah, I think it was.
If you go into notes and attachments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that wasn't.
That's where it gives you the opportunity to upload the file.
You're right.
But when we were in this process, those don't show. None of this will actually show.
Okay.
So you should. So let me bring this over here. Through. Could I do it out? Yeah. So let me ask you this, Lillian, because if this is not the correct thing, then we have an issue. So during the actual wizard, because and then I'm looking at our documentation, our training user guide that we have, Liliana, and I'm just kind of got to the attachment section. So you should see, going through the wizard, you should see this attachment arrow that provides you with these fields. Is that not the case?
No, that is not. Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong. That did not show up for us to even submit any documentation. Because Daryl,
I believe
this together.
Yeah, Alan Turner. I thought it was there. But
no, when
Alabama
we was doing Alabama,
I don't believe.
When we did Alabama, it did not show up.
Okay. All right.
And I'm assuming if it's already, a client of ours, and we may be just adding products or service, then yes, that would be an option to already show up. But if we're doing a completely new client,
yes,
in the case with Alabama Carland, it did not.
Okay. All right. So let me.
And just for those two that are showing right now for Alan Turner, we've already done Alan Turner, right, guys? So like that one, as far as the requests themselves, they can be abandoned.
Yep.
Would that be correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just jotting those down. So yeah, I'll take care of those on the back end.
Okay,
Joe. Yeah. They'll still show in your portal, Liliana, when you log in. You'll see them. They'll just be under the closed onboarding, so it'll be like this basically.
Okay.
But I'm really concerned and questioning, scratching my head noggin here that we don't have that attachments through the actual wizard process. But to your point though, Liliana, I do think I for net new it should be there. I'm not 100% sure about the product change request.
Okay.
And in most cases, you guys won't have product change as much, I would imagine, if at all, as you would the new. Right.
Yeah. That would
it
be
should
pretty
be like a
much be our
90-10.
main concern.
Okay.
And if it's a product change, it's just going to be a score model change.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
From one version or flavor to another.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. I'm with you. So Liliana, do you happen to have a request right now, like that you're ready to try to submit that we can maybe go through?
Daryl, at this moment, I don't believe we do.
No.
Nope. Everything's been with the other two, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, because I would like to see that attachments thing, because I mean, if it's a bug, I mean, if we are having an issue, like I said, then I need to submit a bug ticket so we can get that fixed. Because that is not, it's not working as designed.
How about we do this? The next one that we do have.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that, Daryl and myself, we could contact you and just do a screen share so that way you can see?
Maybe I can always schedule it if that helps, Lee, like where they let me know that they have a new one, and we can see what
we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that way we can get to the bottom of this, because I know a while back, I believe it was Jacqueline that sent us over the onboarding. And when we was going through it, I mean, I was kind of puzzled because it didn't give us the option to submit any of the documentation that we did have for Alabama Carland. So we wasn't quite sure as to, what we needed to do with it.
Sure.
And I believe, Joe, that's when I reached out to you.
Okay.
And we found out that all these issues were starting to arise. And, if we don't get notified, or if we don't have any notification coming to us that, well, we have this pending on, a new account to create.
Right.
I mean, how are we supposed to correct our own errors? I mean, me and Daryl, we was contacting Jacqueline, Joe, I think too, to figure out, okay, what are we doing wrong?
Sure.
I mean, instead of doing double work for Joe, having to submit everything by email and manually putting it in.
Yeah.
Guy, I mean, he's like, okay, well, maybe I need to take, out of salary pay from Agility Credit.
Not at all.
Yeah, no. So I mean, to help alleviate that pain point there for you, Liliana, because you're right. I don't think the way that this partner portal is actually designed was to actually notify the end customer of remediation or anything like that. Again, the way that we're alleviating that pain point is now that we have an actual dedicated team who is monitoring that dashboard that I was referring to earlier. And that's right. That's the reason why Sylvia is actually on the call. She's actually one of the reps that will be monitoring your account for Agility Credit.
Okay.
She's not sales. She's not sales support. So she's just monitoring onboarding queue that's coming in for Agility Credit.
Okay.
Just to make sure that, hey, if something is wrong, we need to get a hold of Liliana or Daryl or whomever, right? And say, hey, we got this, and this we need. Can you get it to us? And we can push it through, to make sure that it gets expedited without it just sitting out there forever, to your point, Liliana, and say, I don't know what's going on with it, right? Yeah.
Hey, Lee.
Yes, sir.
Are there other common issues that you typically see with the onboarding process that you can cover while we're on the line today?
I mean, it's usually clicking the wrong button. I mean, the partner type, or the relationship and that sub request type, Daryl. Usually that's the sub request type when I'm trying to do a product change and I chose location add. And it's confusing the provisioning team because we've got a lot of automation going on with the provisioning of an account now. So basically what we get, it doesn't know, because we're telling the system one thing, but then you're trying to get something else, right? The questions, again, if you're outside of the FICO and Agrify, I know that Daryl, you said that those are probably going to be your two main core products that you're going to be using. If there's any other product, the questions to those products, we need to make sure that we're answering those accordingly. Because again,
sorry to interrupt, I apologize.
Sure.
But
no,
just on the topic, can we do a just kind of a what if scenario with one of these existing accounts for synthetic ID, OFAC, MLA, and
To see what it would look like, you mean?
yeah, because
Yeah.
those are, maybe 20% of the time, right? We'll have those services appended to it,
Sure.
the file.
Yep. So let's go to, we're going to do, so this is a product change. Let's say that's a product change. Again, so here's the sub request type. We need to make sure that we're choosing this accordingly. And Liliana, are we going to do the FIS?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. There you go. Good job. Okay. You passed the test.
Good
All right. So Daryl, to answer your question, so we got the synthetic ID here, and I can see the product is being selected because it's under the selected product section. Again, if there are any questions, those questions will pop up at the very top of the request, kind of like what you see here. So I need to go back through and answer these questions. Which version? What's the billing type? Are we transactional or subscription? Whatever the case may be. Total view again.
The question I have for you on the synthetic ID for subscription, now is that based on the end user, correct? If they want to use it as transactional, or if they want to use it under the
we're transactional.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So they're paying per pull versus you get unlimited for $1 million, right? You got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's based all on whatever the contract is going on. But yeah, these questions need to be answered. We want production, new fulfillment ID. Do you want a new fulfillment ID or not? Are we going to add this to an existing fulfillment ID, or as an outcome of this product change, do you want a brand new fulfillment ID created? So that's really important there.
Okay. What would be the actual difference? Can you explain that to us?
What do you mean?
The new fulfillment ID. So the fulfillment ID they currently have, if we would select yes, that would actually change their fulfillment ID.
No, it wouldn't change the existing. So let's say we've got fulfillment ID 123 right now, right?
Yeah.
If I choose yes to this question, now I'm going to get fulfillment ID. I have fulfillment ID 123, and now I'm going to get fulfillment ID 4, 5, and 6. So you're going to get a brand new one. Yeah. Okay. If I answer no, then this product is going to be added to my fulfillment ID 123.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And it really depends, right?
Seen, Lee.
Yeah.
Can you go back up to? Sorry, Lily. Please go ahead.
Sorry, Liliana.
What is the normal scenario that you have actually seen when it comes to the new fulfillment ID required? Do they just add it on to the existing, or do they actually separate it so that a way there's a synchronizing between products added and products pre-existing?
So for most of the time for our partners, they don't want multiple fulfillment IDs that they have to keep up with. So they want all of these products basically added to the existing fulfillment ID. So no matter what, because keep in mind, if they're using like a third-party system, I think, Daryl, you mentioned some maybe using a third-party system. Yes. I now have to go take that new fulfillment ID, give it to my third party so they can actually start utilizing it to pull said product, right?
Okay. So, yeah. No, we won't want that.
That'll be our edge case if we have bigger lenders or something that are wanting to make a change and then be able to swap out the subcodes so that there's in case there is an issue, they can always revert back. But at least for the auto dealers, 99.9% of the time, we'll just be changing the existing subcode.
There you go.
But can you go to what is the synthetic ID 2 rules for this customer? I just want to see the drop down again for that.
Which one?
Third from the bottom. What is the synthetic ID 2 rules?
Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. So we've got auto. It's basically the industry type, yeah.
And then what type of credit file does this customer require? Can you open that drop down as well? Okay. Okay, perfect.
Other product, I know you mentioned synthetic ID specifically, Daryl. Was there another product that we maybe with MLA? That's usually a pretty popular one. Usually a pretty popular one. Vermont compliant.
MLA and OFAC.
OFAC, okay.
So Vermont compliance. Do we need to select that for someone pulling in Vermont or a potential having a consumer potentially from Vermont for every subcode?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we need that certificate or that we call it a Vermont certificate. But it's a state law, of Vermont, stating that if you're pulling, with a consumer that has or has had a Vermont state address, then you have to have this certificate on file with the credit bureau. So yeah, we need to make sure that we have those on file in order for your end customer to be able to pull a consumer that has or has had a Vermont state address. Yeah.
Okay. And then anything regarding Puerto Rico or California? That as well?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think on the paperwork that you guys would be using, as far as what we call it, say, master services agreement, you would have the Vermont compliance section, and then I believe a California
Puerto Rico
section. I don't know if Puerto Rico's on there, but I know that California.
No, Puerto Rico's not. They just have a surcharge as well, kind of like Colorado. So I was curious to see if there's anything, just at least in your system. And what about California? Is there an icon for California as well we need to identify when ordering a subcode?
I don't think so in our system, Lee. Like, we have it on the paperwork for, say, the MSA, but I don't think that it's ever been something that I've had to choose.
No, the only one that comes to mind that's product driven that is related to or can be related to the state of California is Persona. Okay. So it's a consumer report, for employment purposes only. Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't think that applies here.
Okay.
Well, here may be a dumb question.
No such thing, my dear.
I know I've got the same philosophy, but I mean, sometimes, my brain likes to overact.
Sure.
Now, let's just say that we do onboard, another dealership.
Okay.
And they do come across a consumer that wants to purchase a vehicle, and they are from Vermont. How are we going to actually know these consumers are from Vermont, until they come into the dealership? So let's just say the dealership, we don't have this Vermont compliance certification on that dealership, but a consumer comes in to purchase a car through that dealership and they are from Vermont.
But we need it selected on every subcode.
On every subcode.
And especially with every subcode, this has got to be the 100% for, and especially in today's day and age, it could be me in California browsing a Vermont dealership's website and having it delivered to my house with the ease of access. So every subcode we need to have that selected, even on pre-qual as well.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's better safe than sorry.
Right.
To your point, Daryl. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
adding to the customer or the client is already subscribing to that or adhering, stating they'll adhere to Vermont and California, the credit addendums. So they've already agreed to adhere to that. So we're okay with turning it on as well.
Okay. All right. That makes better sense. Because I was getting ready to say, are we just going to have to pick and choose, or how are we supposed to do that? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl. I don't believe that we did check that on Alabama Car Lane.
We can actually make note of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you can submit a product change to have it added there.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. I'm trying to limit the amount of time and work instead of having to backtrack and go over everything that. Yeah.
I hear you.
Everybody's like a little bit easier than myself.
So for synthetic, we already had that MLA coverage borrower. That seems the MLA offline version. What is that? Not applicable.
Yeah, not applicable. Right. Yeah. So you would leave that one as none. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then opt out MLA waterfall. Do we need to select anything there?
No.
Nope.
Okay, we can leave that blank. And what about requesting pre-qual subcodes, full file?
So we have the Powerly qualified and pre-qual. I don't think those can be submitted through because it's not a product that we normally offer through the portal.
Mhm. Would there be something more, Daryl, that you guys would see on a change request, like where, the initial setup is kind of standard BAU, whereas a change such as what you just mentioned would be after the fact?
No. So, and especially with our finally us getting to market with our consumer facing application, when we sell into dealerships, the pitch is going to be a pre-qual first process. So
Okay.
we'll need a way to be able to order a pre-qual report and flex either, FICO Vantage, identity verification.
Mhm.
We're already contracted with it, but we'll need to understand how to request that through the system, or if we're going to be, receiving a, master subcode that will flex on our side.
Okay. So the product that you would choose for that scenario alone, then Daryl, would just be the pre-qualification here.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
and same. Can you just select that just so we can see kind of
Oh,
drop
sure.
downs? I just want to see if the same rules apply.
Yep. Let me get that saved, and then we
So
go
we would
up. So
actually
here,
have to do that as a standalone.
Yeah, it'll be a different subcode.
Yeah.
correct.
Correct.
Exactly. Yes, Daryl, you got it.
Okay, and then
So
total
so
view.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And did you select the power lead qualify, or did that
I
pop
did.
up
No, I
automatically?
did by
Okay.
no, I did it by accident. I thought I was clicking on the pre-qualification, but I did the power lead on qualify instead. Yeah.
No worries. I just
Um.
wanted to make sure I'm tracking.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. That was a Lee goof. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay, so that seems pretty straightforward. And as far as the additional questions or the additional items we didn't have correct, like the FICO delivery channel question, stating that as total view, the relationship type, reseller channel partner. We need to have the Vermont icon checked. I didn't see that. Even with pre-qual, same process, we'll add that as a product as well. Is there anything we need to fill out for that specific
For the Vermont.
compliance certification? Yes, sir.
No. Well, I don't know, Joe. Do they have it attached to their contract or?
Yeah, it
We
should
do.
be on the
You do. Okay.
contract. Yeah,
All right.
it'd be like a yes
Yep.
or no initial. Mhm.
Got it. So then, no, Daryl, since it's part of your initial contract package, if you will, you would not need the standalone. It's whenever it's after the fact, right? Oh shoot, we didn't do that. Then we would need to go back and just get the standalone certificate signed by the end user, and then go and change that. Which sounds like what we may have to do? Question mark. ... I don't know on the one that Liliana was talking about.
Yeah, for Alabama
Yep.
Car. And I'll check because you guys, we submitted that one via email, so I should have all the documentation that we added, and I'll check to make sure.
And here's the thing. So even though it was part of your original contract package, right? We should have added it then. But because this is going to be a product change after the fact, we then are going to need the standalone certificate signed, because the provisioning team won't allow. We can't just say, oh well, we signed it in the original contract. We need the evidence of that being done on that request.
Okay, so that leads us to uploading supporting documents for an end user or a subscriber to order
So-
fulfillment ID.
Yeah.
When we get into the attachments section, we can upload all of our attachments, right? Hold on, create new. Okay, you're just
I'm
trying
just
to get
going
to
through
that
the
spot.
motions here. Yeah, exactly. Correct. So locations, we're gonna just choose that. Next. I want one.
The fulfillment ID is requested. We always select that as one if we're ordering a new subcode. Okay.
Yes,
Onboarding
exactly.
contact on site.
Yep.
For the on-site contact, onboarding contact, there is no way for us to signify that there is no on-site inspection. So i.e., franchise dealer is excluded from that. What is the process there, or what does that look like?
So then you can just put the same contact for all three then. Meaning
Okay.
the like the billing contact of that account. So I'm assuming that you have an exception to the rule for that particular end customer.
Yep.
Daryl, is what
The
you're saying? Okay.
franchise dealers, publicly traded companies excluded, and then
Sure.
for NDs and small
Gotcha.
lenders, etc.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
no
So
credentialing. They
yeah.
just
So
check the what do you call it? The locator, the dealer locator site, and as long as it's there, then they're okay.
yeah.
Versus-
So the system doesn't know that you or that you have that exception for that particular customer. So it's
Mhm.
still going to require that contact to be added. So you would just use your authorizer, whomever you're using as your onboarding contact. You can list that person as the same if it's, that it would be the same.
Yep.
And then it would just, once it got to our credentialing department, they would say, oh, this person is excluded from, on-site.
Mhm.
Let me just bypass that piece. So it has nothing to do with the system at that point. It's
Right.
a via processee at that point for credentialing team.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Alan Turner. I don't know who the contacts are. Liliana, do you know who contact is for Alan Turner by chance?
We've
Top of your
already
Yeah.
this zip code's already been delivered. If you can just put
Mhm.
bogus, we won't need to issue this.
Okay. So I
And I
can't
actually
create.
believe it's Allie Turner.
Yeah, Allie, thank you. Okay. Because I
Mhm.
have to select something that's already with a profile created. Yeah. Let me do Allie here. Okay, so we're going to next step. Okay, there. Okay, so it takes it a second,
Mhm.
Liliana. So so we can upload a file, meaning that I can just your normal upload process, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
And then if I want to add a note, hey, this customer doesn't like the word yellow, please don't use the word yellow, whatever. That's additional information for the provisioning of your account, right?
Right.
So Daryl, to
Now,
your
is the
point,
note tied to the individual file, or is that note tied to the account level?
so this note is for the overall request. So this is any additional
Okay.
information that may not be plugged into one of these fields that we have. Your exception to the rule, Daryl, that you just mentioned for that one particular customer, where the exception is for no on-site visit or on-site
Yep.
needs to be. That might be a useful note that you might want to leave for those types of customers. So exception. If I can spell correctly, sorry. No on-site, right?
Mhm.
It sounded right though, except
Yeah,
on.
exception. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just additional information that's going to help get your request through the process where this piece of information is not plugged into a field along the way.
Okay.
Let's go back to notes.
Now, yep. So for this section here, I know we can just upload, all of our documents, but just to make sure we're hitting all the key ones. Do you have a list of documents that are required for the onboarding, and then also if they should be notated a certain way? So we're using the same terminology, and there's no, misalignment on what's being uploaded or added from Agility.
Yeah, I think Qantas provided that to me, Lee,
Okay.
specific to agility. So I'll take that on.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make sure you guys have that.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Okay. So Liliana, when you're submitting these requests, just because I see it here and I don't want to, I don't know what happened. Maybe that day it went wonky and you didn't see it. I did notice that it took a second or two for it to come up. So maybe it was just that, or maybe, I don't know, who knows. But just keep an eye on that one.
Joe was on with me, Lee.
Okay.
And we was sitting there looking at it, staring at it. It didn't come up. Because I even took a screenshot. I believe, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, and I put it on the email that I sent you.
Yeah, I do remember us, jumping on the line and you kind of walking me through from a screen share.
Now,
yeah.
Do we know if it might have been that request that we created or tried to submit where it was FIS as the sub request type?
No, it wasn't checked as FIS.
Okay. Yeah, that
I don't know. I mean, because I do remember when we was doing this, I remember Jacqueline also commented that there had been some issues with the portal. So, I mean, maybe it might have been a bug.
Yep,
maybe it just might have been a one-offer.
Sure.
Things happen. It's technology. I mean, we've got to love it, but yet at the same time, we hate it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay.
So, I just hope going forward, because I know we've had to continuously pester you guys. And, this is something that, Daryl and myself, I'm going to speak for you, Daryl. We really don't have time to do this.
Sure.
We're going to start booming and start getting, a lot of clients. And we don't want to have to, have any drawbacks on getting these, subcodes issued and getting our clients onboarded. And, this one with Alabama Car Land took an excessive amount of time.
Sure. No, and I agree. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of self-service there, Liliana. You're right. You're exactly right. Why the heck would I use a system that doesn't help me help it? Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
It's not just that, honestly. We're really big on communication. And if we don't know something and we're having to constantly reach out, then we're at the end of the line with our client, trying to explain to them, well, we're not sure what's going on, and we're being made look as a fool.
Right.
We give them a specific deadline from the information that we're shared, through Joe, Jacqueline, Marcia. Oh, well, it's only going to take, this time limit. Our goal is to have subcodes and have our clients up and going within 14 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let's monitor that. If we're seeing issues there, we can always circle back, but hopefully it was just a one-off. And if we can come back into it and see those fields, that'll work.
Oh yeah.
Having that list of the attachments on what's the necessary ones, just to make sure we dot our I's, cross our T's, would be helpful.
Sure.
And I think that's really it. We covered the mistakes. And the common issues that we would see. Let us submit a couple, and let's get it through the flow. And it seems like we're on the right track. And if there's any snafus, we can always reconnect. But I think those are the only things we actually had specific questions on.
Okay.
The current process right now, actually, Joe, if you want to take this as a takeaway, this isn't really an ask. This is really just a kind of a check with Equifax team. If Agility Credit will be utilizing for any of our internal systems a master code, or for ordering individual subcodes for each end user, just so we have that clarification, that would be helpful. And if it is a master code, again, making sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And ensuring we have all the compliance documentation like we would order a subcode from Equifax and pass compliance. And then actually, I do have one last one. Lee, is the on-site inspection always required? And Joe, I know you've asked this, or I think you've given me an answer on this, so I apologize. But is an on-site inspection, if it's required for a client, is that document, because we're using a third party, is that always required to be added to the system prior to ordering a subcode? Or can we make note of it? Hey, we're requesting subcode, and then we'll upload the results as it comes in to help kind of cut down some of the turn time.
Sure. So I think depending on the relationship, so if we already have an existing relationship, meaning somewhere along the line of the life history of Equifax, and that maybe that end user customer, then there may not be an on-site required. However, during the credentialing process, they would be the ones that would be to identify if the on-site is needed or not.
Right. Yeah, the information I was able to get from credentialing was that when an on-site is needed, that it is required prior to the subcode being created. Because
that is correct.
In the process, Daryl, just so you guys know, the credentialing team and what we would call our due diligence team actually kind of vets all of the documentation and completes that on-site process prior to it going to a separate team that actually creates the subcode. So that team that creates the subcode, they wouldn't even touch it until it's
correct.
That portion of the process is completed.
Exactly. Yeah, they're more the front end. Yeah, they're more the front end onboarding process. Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's the way that we do the on-sites now. They're really easy. They're all virtual, and they basically kind of guide and walk the end customer through the process. take a snapshot picture of this through your smartphone, send it, upload it, and boom, we're done. Takes
Yeah,
literally
so
3 to 5 minutes.
yeah, just to add to that, we have to schedule with the third party. 90% of our customers, I would say, and the track record the past 2 weeks haven't been this way, but 90% of our customers, let's say they're franchise dealers, they pull all 3 bureaus or even an independent dealer, depending on what their lender uses. So if we use the third party inspection, it covers, you know, the other 2 as well. So they don't have to facilitate 2 different inspections.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we'll upload those results there, and then that's just, you know, saves on the inconvenience to the customer for having to, you know, coordinate both. Would it be best to just add a note in there that, you know, we've uploaded the on-site inspection results? Our company's already been approved by Equifax. So would it help to add a note in there stating that on-site's been completed, you know, document name is X, Y, and Z, do not facilitate the Equifax virtual?
I would definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because again, if not, then they're going to they may, depending on the rep and what day of the week it is, and you know, different processors do different things, so it's so crazy on how they do that. But yeah, it can't do any harm, right? It can only help and decrease or potentially decrease the amount of cycle time that it does take to create the fulfillment ID for you. So make sure that we're in that 14-day window that you mentioned, or Liliana mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, I'm one to say, hey, don't give more information than required because it can open up certain cans. But in this case, I would definitely say the over communication is to our benefit because we don't cause anything that isn't needed.
Exactly. Yep.
Joe, I like the way you think.
Yeah,
quite a few of these.
Man, that's that old attorney thing. Don't ask any question you don't already
want to know. Yeah.
Well, everyone, I hate to do this. I have 2 minutes. Cool. I have to be in another meeting. And I apologize, Sylvia. It's nice, you know, virtually meeting you. And hopefully, you know, if there's anything that we can do or you could do to assist us to make, you know, your life a little bit easier, let us know.
Sure. Okay. And what I'm going to do is get your contact information from Joe. I'll just get it from Joe so that I have it in my inbox or whatever. Yeah. So if something goes on, I know who and where to reach out. But we're looking forward to a smooth transactions and moving forward.
Thanks,
and I
Daryl.
think for the rest of the team, we're good with this. And Lee, Sylvia, Joe, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate the team. And we'll get a few of these going through the system. And if there's any questions, we'll reach out.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Later.
Thanks.
No, don't forget to send me over a copy of this, please.
Okay, we'll do
recording. Yes, got it.
Thanks. Have a great week, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.